もともとそのエネルギーのコンセプト自体が何かに没頭して、そうすることによって人生がより良くなっていく、幸福度が上がっていくって話なんで、だから僕も英語にね集中することによっていろんな経験ができたし、でこれから多分大きく世界も広がっていくんだろうなっていうのが一つで、それをまあ見せられればね、開発した側としても一番いいのかなと思って今回のチャレンジがあるんですけど、であとは、世界の人々に、エネルギーのことを言えるアピールできる場だと思うんで、もうだって逃げれないしやるしかないんで、はい、頑張ります。
Become better at singing.
Some may become better at singing due to the influence of the coronavirus.
Just 見る？
マジですか？
何をすればいいかが全く分からない。これが送られてきたんだよ。
A, B, C, D.
そうそうそう。多分このレベルから始めるよね。I.
Can you say ice cream?
Ice cream.
The.
Two. Boys.
小吉
微妙。やばい、書いてあることがやばい。この時期は新しい動きをしても骨折り損で大して効果がありません。やばい。いやでもマジでやばくない？週に4回授業入ってるの。どうなってるって話。いやだって英語なんてさ、中学もまともに出てないわけなんで、文法とかも全く分からない。
いやでもこれで話せるようになったら希望を与えますから。
いやほんと。2022年はもうバイリンガルになってくるもん。バイリンガルへの道なんで一応。
そうです、
ハードル高いな。やるしかないよ。
30超えてからゼロから始めて話せるようになるって本当かなって。
そうだね。今年はちょっと英語漬けの1年になりそうです。
楽しみにしてます。
頑張ります。不安です。
3 hours and 45 minutes. What do you think these numbers mean? An American research company found that this is the average amount of time people spent using the internet in 2019. Japanese people spend more than 3 hours and 45 minutes on average a day on the internet. The average time spent on the internet is 6 hours and 31 minutes per day in the United States. While in the Philippines, which has the longest average usage time in the world, they spend more than 10 hours per day online. I say again, the Philippines, with the longest usage time in the world, averages more than 10 hours per day. It is hard to believe that spending more than 10 hours a day on the internet is the average for some people. But we humans have come to spend so much time on the internet in this day and age. And in 2021, most likely due to the influence of the coronavirus. The time spent on the internet around the world has almost certainly increased significantly. I'm sure a lot of people killed time with Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc. During Corona's lockdown period, the fact that Netflix is now part of GAFA, a group of the world's top IT companies, and I sometimes referred to as FANG. Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. And of course, the younger the generation, the more time they spend on the internet. In fact, according to a survey by the Japanese government, the amount of time spent on the internet by elementary, junior high, and high school students continues to grow every year. Quite a few families give their children and elementary school students smartphones and tablets so that they can freely watch videos on YouTube as well as other programs. Interestingly enough, in contrast to youth culture, smartphones and tablets are now becoming more popular among the elderly as well. The number of middle-aged and elderly people watching YouTube has certainly increased in the past few years. In other words, one could say, from the time we are born until the time we die, we will be spending a considerable amount of time on the internet. I was born and raised in Japan, so I am not a very religious person. But if God has given me a gift, I believe it is time. Because time is the only thing that is equal for everyone. However, the value and meaning of time can vary greatly depending on how we spend it. For example, the same amount of time spent watching a movie will have a different meaning if you watch a boring or uninteresting one. Also, the meaning of a movie changes greatly depending on with whom you are watching it. Wouldn't you agree? Recently, I sometimes spent an hour just looking for a movie to watch on Netflix or Amazon Prime, which really makes me reflect on how much time I waste. The same 2 hours spent can have a different meaning, depending on how you spend it. I reiterate, the exact same 2 hours can have a different meaning, depending on how you spend it. If that's the case, how can we be sure that we are spending time that is truly worthwhile every day? Are you spending time with people you truly care about, and with whom you are connected to at the core? This is true not only for the time you spend on the internet, but also for every waking moment. It is an essential aspect of life and the human experience. It could be a huge problem for humanity if the ever-increasing amount of time we spend on the internet causes us to waste more and more time. Additionally, as technology continues to advance, our free time will increase. I believe that if we don't have an environment where we can use this increased free time in a meaningful way, it is also a big problem for humanity. It is so common for us to spend our day looking at social media sites, envying someone watching entertainment news, attacking someone in the comments, watching YouTube, searching for related videos, and so forth. Before you know it, the day is over. Is any of that really the best way to spend your time? So my question is, how can we make the time we are giving in life worthwhile? Perhaps that is the question being asked of all of us now. What can we do to make sure we don't waste the gift of time that God has given us? We, my team and I, thought about it. So I came to a conclusion to create online clubs. In Japan, it is common for students to join clubs during their school days. Clubs nurture the body and the mind of students, such as sports, arts, and literature. It helps refresh them from their workload. I was injured and confined to a wheelchair during the summer break of my first year junior high school. I used to be on the basketball team before I got injured, and I was only active on the basketball team for 3 months. However, I never got tired of playing basketball every day. I even played on my days off from school at the local park. I didn't have a quota, nor was I praised by anyone, but I voluntarily practiced on my own. It was my passion. Now that I think about it, the experience of self-discipline in life may be surprisingly rare. Doing what you love together with your friends and being crazy about it. In Japan, this is called youth. However, as we grow older, the days of the youthful mindset are lost. There are fewer and fewer human relationships to call friends, less and less time to spend on favorite things, and less and less time to get lost in our passions and interests. Somehow, the things that we used to enjoy purely for the sake of it, without any consideration for profit or loss, have become a waste of time, and we start to get caught up in work and life. For example, which time is more valuable? 2 hours or watching YouTube, or spending 2 hours doing some sort of a club activity enthusiastically? As I mentioned earlier, we unconsciously spend an average of almost 4 hours a day watching YouTube or social networking sites. Watching YouTube and doing a club activity may be the same. If you mean the following: not worth the money, not related to work, or not useful for the future. However, when I think about the time I felt the most fulfilled and happy was overwhelmingly when I was absorbed in clubs. Can't we make this happen on the internet? With this in mind, we created ENERGEIA, which allows anyone to create and participate in clubs online, and not just consume content, but actively engage in clubs. With ENERGEIA, anyone can create and participate in clubs online, and not just consume content, but actively engage in clubs. For example, with ENERGEIA, there are various clubs, such as music club, training club, cooking club, online game club, reading club, and so on. In those clubs, active discussions are held, events are organized, and useful information is shared. As much as time permits, you can enjoy the clubs with friends who share the same interests and likes. Why spend time idly watching YouTube or Netflix? Time wasted. Spent fiddling with your phone or the like, and before you know it, it's gone. You can't take time back. Once it is gone, it is gone. Even if it's the same amount of time, time spent focusing on clubs can bring about far more changes in your life than you can imagine, compared to time spent idly with little to no purpose. For example, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Until just half a year ago, I was the worst person in the world at English, and I hated it. I had a strong dislike for English and studied it very little. Partly because I was disabled in accident when I was 12 and could only attend school for a short period of time. I could barely read the alphabet. I didn't know grammar. I couldn't pronounce anything. And I couldn't even imagine giving a speech in English in front of people like this. But for the past 6 months, I've been steadily focusing on 4 hours of lessons and self-discipline every week. On average, that's about 1 hour a day. It's only 1 hour a day. It's only an hour, but I was able to grow to a level of being able to give a speech like this by continuing to concentrate and focusing on my practice. To be honest, I was worried at first. The reason why I decided to learn English in the first place was because of a preposterous request from Mr. Kisaka, the creator of ENERGEIA. He said, I think ENERGEIA is going to expand globally, so you'd better learn to speak English. Let's make a speech about ENERGEIA in English to introduce it and our ideas. It was an absurd suggestion that came out of the blue for me. But because I thought it was essential for ENERGEIA to be used by people all over the world, I decided to start studying English. To be honest, I thought it would be impossible to give a speech in just 6 months. But Mr. Kisaka and the teachers at English Vitamin who were teaching me English said, don't worry, you can do it. And it turns out that yes, I could do it. I think everyone is anxious when taking on a new challenge. However, as I have experienced, people can change a lot even in a short period of 6 months, as long as they are really focused. Of course, my English may still be lousy, but at least when I compare the me of 6 months ago with the me of today, my sense of dislike for English has disappeared, and I am able to communicate in English a little better. More so, I've even come to think of English as fun. This is a revolutionary event in my life. By learning English, my world will expand many times over. The same thing happens in clubs. Some may improve their skill with instruments. Some may become better at singing. Some may become better at cooking. Even if you don't improve in something, you may meet friends who can talk to you at the same level about the subjects you love. Some of you may be thinking, that's just amateur level, right? No matter how hard an amateur tries, he can't become a professional. No matter how much he talks about it, he can't eat out on it. In the end, it's all about self-satisfaction. No matter how hard you work, you will never become a professional. But in fact, my life has changed into a more fulfilling one in just 6 months. It's true that just because I can speak English doesn't mean the world will change. It may all just be a small world event for me personally. However, the goodness, meaning, and happiness of one's life cannot be measured by other people's yardsticks. For example, Jim at my favorite hamburger shop in Fukuoka speaks very little Japanese, so I could not communicate with him. The burgers there are delicious, and I go there every month, but I couldn't communicate with him. However, since I started studying English, I have been able to order in English myself, understand what Jim is trying to say, and communicate with him in a cursory way. I do know that just because I can now communicate with Jim doesn't mean the world will change. But my world did change, even if just a little. For me, this is a big step forward. In the end, the most important thing is to feel happy with yourself. And in Japan, there is a saying, 好きこそ物の上手なれ. This means that if you like something, you will naturally work hard at it and spare no effort to create something new. So you will inevitably improve. The more we do what we like, the more we will inevitably grow. If this is the case, then you don't have to worry about failing or not being able to become a professional. Brain science research shows that the more immersed we are, the happier we feel, and the longer we are immersed, the better we become. From this fact, we can say that if it is no longer the result that makes us happy, but the time we spend immersed that makes us happy. In other words, you don't have to be rich or powerful to live a fulfilling and happy life. And what if you could share that time of emotion with others who share your values? Isn't it great to share your happiness with others? If emotion is happiness, then the opposite of happiness would be just that, time consumed without happiness. Watching YouTube or Netflix may give you a temporary sense of satisfaction, but it's only a temporary satisfaction, just like junk food and sweets. If you only eat junk food and sweets, you will get sick. Most people regret their daily habits after they get sick. But when you look back on your life at the age of 80, for example, you may realize that you have spent your time mindlessly consuming unconsciously. This will probably cause more regret than the illness, because unlike recovering from an illness, when wasting time, it is the life lived, and not the life to come, that has been wasted. If I wasted almost 4 hours of my time every day, this would be a very scary story. How much time do you have to devote to your life right now? On the other hand, how much time do you consume without even realizing it? With ENERGEIA, we want people all over the world to have more time to immerse themselves. Even if you think you can't do something right now, if you have an environment where you can immerse yourself, friends to share your interests with, and people who support you. You will be surprised how easily you can do anything you set your mind to. So don't give up on a challenge or something you can immerse yourself in. Online clubs will surely have a positive impact on your life. All people who will never give up on life are welcome at ENERGEIA. Thank you very much for coming and listening to my speech today. ありがとうございました。